Hey guys, Dr. Jason Torado here. So today we are talking about what do you really want? That's a great question for a lot of people. It's holiday seasons, and I'm not talking about what do you want for Christmas? That would be easy. What I'm talking about is you, okay? We're going to have a one-to-one this time. We're talking about what is it that you really want, not what others think that you should want, but what you really deep down in your heart want. What is it that your brain, when you think about your perfect practice, what is it that you think about? And for me, that has changed over the course of the past 30 years in business. In the beginning, I wanted to see 1,000 patients a week. I wanted everybody to be on lifetime care. I wanted to have an all cash practice. 10 years later, I wanted to have an all personal injury and a work comp practice. And so that was and I wanted to have doctors working for me, 3 doctors working for me. And I did that. Another 5 years later, past that, I wanted to have an integrated practice. I wanted to have medical doctors. I wanted to have pain management doctors. I wanted to own a part of a surgical center. And I went ahead and I did that. And then here I am 30 years later, and I wanted to have a cash practice. I wanted to get paid. I wanted to see low volume of patients. I didn't want to see 1,000 people, 100 people a day. I wanted to see 10 people a day. I didn't want to make, $10 an adjustment. I wanted to make $150 an adjustment. So what you really want changes over time. And so when was the last time you actually thought about what it is that you really wanted? Now, again, for you, that could be, I want to see 500 patients a week. I want to see 300 patients a week. I might want to see 1,000 patients a week. Those people, those above, down, inside, and out people, they want to change lives. They want to change, one spine at a time, and they want to change lives, and they were born to be chiropractors. Yeah, well, I used to think that way. I was born to be a chiropractor, but I don't think that way anymore. I'm born here today to serve God. And to serve God, I need to serve man, and that's to serve you the best way that I possibly can. But either way, nonetheless, if that's what it is that you want, if you want to see 500 people a week, that's okay. That's what you want. It's also okay to practice like me, right? You can be the opposite end of the spectrum. You can see a handful of patients a day. You can see 20 patients a day. You can see 50 patients a day, or you can do 20, or you can do 50 patients a week. In a small, tiny room, or in a 2-room office, and maybe have 1 employee. That's completely up to you what you want. Maybe you don't want to have any staff. You don't want the hassles of any staff, and this way, you might want to save some money, and that will provide you to be able to make enough income. Maybe you just want to make enough income to be able to live comfortably, somewhat comfortably, have absolutely no stress. And, maybe you only want to work 2 days a week or 3 days a week, because the other 4 or 5 days of the week, you want to go skiing in the mountains, or maybe you want to go hiking in the mountains, or maybe you want to go, I don't know, sailboating in the Caribbean or something like that. And all of those choices are completely okay. Maybe you might want to do what I used to do. You want to run a huge clinic, or maybe you want to run multiple clinics, integrated clinics that are systematized, so that you can really maximize the profit that you're making. And obviously you're going to have some large overhead. Maybe you don't want to see patients anymore. That's okay too. Don't feel bad about that. Maybe you want to have systems in place. You want to have doctors working for you. And maybe you just want to be there just to kind of oversee things inside your practice. And instead of working in the practice, maybe you want to work on your practice. That's cool. That's perfectly okay if that's what you want to do. That's a great way to maximize profit. You see, everything that I'm suggesting to you, perfectly okay. It really is. And if you've changed the way you wanted to practice over the years since you began, you know what? That's okay too. I mean, I've got different members that I coach that they want all different sorts of variations. I've got a doctor that has multiple clinics. He's got several doctors. I've got a doctor to the opposite end of the spectrum. I've got that one doctor office that has no staff, and they're perfectly comfortable doing that. And there, all these different types of variations I'm describing are perfectly okay. But here's the one thing that you got to consider. You got to be honest with yourself. You've got to really be honest with how, with what it is that you want, how you want to practice, the kind of money that you can make from that particular practice. And you got to decide, you got to just decide what kind of practice it is and that you want to be in. And then you got to practice, you've got to really think about what type of lifestyle that you want to have also that's going to go along, because that practice that lifestyle that you want, right, is fantastic, but the practice is what's going to be there to be able to generate that kind of a lifestyle, right? If you have a lifestyle where you want to float around in yachts and you want to go to exotic islands and you want to spend tons of cash, then you better have a practice that's going to be able to generate that kind of income to be able to sustain that kind of lifestyle. But it's important that you're honest with yourself. Okay, you may say you want to have a very, very luxurious lifestyle, go on vacations 3-4 times a year, but you don't want to see a lot of patients. You don't want to do that much work in the practice. That's okay. But you can't do that charging $30, $40 an adjustment. You've got to do what I do. You got to charge $150, $200 an adjustment, right? Because if you want to be able to live that type of a lifestyle. And so it's important to be honest with yourself. You see, everything that I just suggested to you, those ways of practicing, even that way of living, that's perfectly okay. That's perfectly okay. But you've just got to be honest with yourself and decide what kind of practice that you're going to want and the lifestyle that you want that practice to be able to provide to you. And so that's because when you have that end goal, only when you really think about what it is that you want, when you focus on what it is that you want, when you have that end goal in mind, can you really come up with the type of practice that you are going to need to be able to give you that kind of a lifestyle, that kind of an end goal. It's kind of like reverse engineering. It's like working backwards to be able to get to where you want to go. And so what you want to do is when you're working backwards, you'll be able to figure out easier the things that you need to do where you can be most productive and you can do most of the profitable things or do the most profitable things and get the most out of the use of your time throughout the entire day. And so here's the most important thing here's what I think is probably one of the most important things for you to really understand. There's a very, very common story out there. It's about a sculptor. These sculptors that make these, amazing, amazing statues, the statue of David. And they asked, I believe is Michelangelo, they asked a great sculptor. They asked him one time, what was it? They asked him, how were you able to take a lumpy, mold heap of clay, which just looked like a heap of absolutely nothing, and how were you able to turn that into the statue of David? Like, how was that physically possible that you were able to take absolutely this lump of nothing and turn it into this beautiful something? And what the master sculptor said, he said it was actually very, very easy. He said because the masterpiece was already there inside that lump of clay. All I had to do was cut it away. That's all I had to do was cut it away and mold it and just remove all the excess stuff that was in the way of that beautiful statue of David. And I'll tell you something, I think that the same thing is really, really true when it comes to building your business. I think that anything is possible. Really, I believe that anything is possible. And I think that we've got this when we first get into business, that if you don't have the end in mind, I mean, you have this whole, the possibilities on how you can build your practice are completely endless. And the kind of lifestyle that you want are completely endless, which is why over the years, you could have so many different types of practices and you can have live so many different types of lifestyles. And so that's why it's so important. Even when I coach somebody, when they first come to me, a lot of doctors are really scatterbrained. The first thing I do with them is I try to figure out what is it that they want? What is the end game? Right? And it's not just about making money, it's literally decide what it is that they want to be able to be getting and what the end game is actually going to look like inside their brain. And some people know that and some doctors don't know that. And then so what we do is that's when we get in there and we cut away and create all the strategies and all the possible things that you can do until we're left with just the one thing or the few things that will take you to that end game. What I'm saying is we get to the strategies that are needed because there's so many different strategies and so many doctors want so many different strategies. And so the most important thing is to really cut away all the distractions and just hone in on the strategies, the 2, 3, 4 strategies that'll get you to what your dream practice will be or your dream lifestyle will be. And sure, you know what? Sometimes you've got to look at all the possibilities. I get it. But when I coach doctors, most of what I do is try to weed out all of the strategies that they've been taught, because they're more like distractions. And so I know that all the strategies in my system work, and I know that it'll get people to work, to where they want to go. But it only takes a few strategies to be able to get to that lifestyle and that practice that you want to have. Now, look, if you want to have a huge clinic, that's cool. You want to make millions and millions of dollars, I might not be the coach for you. But if you are going to do something like that, then you're going to have to take massive action. And you're going to have to do a lot of strategies to be able to do that. And you're going to have to spend a lot of money to be able to get to that point. On the other hand, if you want a small, one doctor practice with maybe two, with 1, 2, perhaps 3, and maybe even 3 employees might be too much. But if you want to be a one man show or one woman show, and you want to have 1 or 2 employees, and you want to make 7 figures, or you want to make a mid to high 6-figure practice, you can do that. And you can work a lot less also, and you can have a lot less stress. But even doing something like that, it's not going to be like you wave a magic wand and suddenly it just happens. You're going to have to work also. But either way, I'll tell you something. I've got in how I coach, I've gotten rid of like 90% of the strategies that are out there. They're completely unnecessary. And so the ones that are not the best use of your time are the ones that I've gotten rid of. And that's why you can simply take massive action with just some of the strategies that I give you. And if you've listened to some of our videos, I have given away a lot of the strategies that I teach and that I give to my coaching clients. You can get right from this group right here, because it only takes a few strategies to be able to focus on, to implement, and clear away all of the static and all of the interruptions to be able to get your practice to where you want it to be. Now, look, here's something else that I want else to think about. Every day, you can choose to implement new strategies, or even the ones that you're implementing right now, or you can choose to go do something else, right? But something less productive, which is what a lot of doctors do. And I also understand that maybe right now your practice might be in a plateau. Maybe you're not getting to where you want to be. And so you may be so used to the way that you're doing things right now that you might think that it's almost impossible to change. And I'm going to tell you something. It's not. Even though we're right at the beginning of December, it's still not impossible to change your practice around. In fact, it's really easy. It is. It's not impossible. It's very, very easy. You know, in Maxwell Maltz's book, it's called Psycho-Cybernetics. I don't know if you've ever read it. If you haven't read it, I suggest that you go get it. He talks about how to change your life around completely in just a moment. And he says that basically you can change just about any behavior that you want for good if you simply change that behavior for just 21 days. Because he says that you can actually change behaviors and change bad habits and develop brand new habits, productive habits in 21 days. For example, I started doing cold baths and cold showers about maybe 4 months ago, 5 months ago. And when I first got inside there, I thought it was absolutely impossible. And so I've been doing cold, freezing showers and ice baths every single day to boost my immune system. And I've been doing that for probably 5 or 6 months now. But when I first started doing that, it was absolutely impossible to jump inside a cold shower. Now that I do that every single day, it's easy. Is it uncomfortable when I first get in? Absolutely. But at this point, it's part of my ritual. It's part of my habit. And as a result, I don't suffer with any allergies, and I've had great energy all throughout the day, and I haven't even gotten sick. I don't get any infections because I developed those habits of cold showers early in the morning. And so look, here's another example. If you want to find an extra 45 extra days next year in 2023, and then year after year after year, all you really have to do is wake up 1 hour earlier for 21 days. And when you do it for 21 days, your internal behavior will be completely changed. And it's just easy to just institute brand new habits, brand new rituals that can have the potential to be able to completely change your life and to be able to change your practice. Look, I want to urge you to do cold showers for the next 21 days. Because if you can make that commitment and follow through for only 21 days, chances are you could change your immune system completely in 21 days. And you can do that with any habit. But I'll tell you something. You can only change one behavior at a time. That's it. Don't try changing 2 or 3 behaviors at a time. And that really means that, and although you can change many different behaviors, my suggestion is to change one behavior at a time. So take a really good hard look at what will be the most potential right now to be able to change your practice and to be able to change your life. Let me give you an example that you can use to change your practice. One of the things that I see is that a lot of chiropractors don't use online scheduling, and they don't use text messaging to remind to just nudge their patient base. They don't send text messages to their entire patient base. They only send text messages as a reminder to patients that are already scheduled for appointments. And frankly, I'll be honest with you, patients hate that. So if you're doing that, if you've got these automated messages, patients hate that. Stop doing that. But sending a health tip to your patient every single week via a text message and then placing a link inside there for them to be able to schedule an appointment in your office by just pressing a button, making it that easy. That simple change, doing that simple change for 21 days can literally change around your entire practice. You don't believe me? Try it out for 21 days. It's easy to do. It's easy to implement. And when you finish that and that works, you can thank me later on. But you know what I want you to do is I want you to do that, and then I want you to start doing another behavior after that. So just take one change, one behavior at a time. I mean, literally, if you did that and put a change into your practice every 21 days, just think about the possibilities of how that would completely revolutionize and improve your entire practice. And eventually, change your entire lifestyle. I mean, you could have a brand new lifestyle. You could be driving around in a brand new car. You can have a brand new office, redesign your entire practice. I mean, the possibilities are absolutely endless by just implementing a new effective strategy, just one every 21 days. And I don't, and again, I'm really specifically telling you one, not three, not four, because that's just going to cause you to be overwhelmed. So really just figure out what it is that you really want. Okay. Make a list of the strategies and the techniques from, just listen to some of the videos that you've heard from me inside this particular group in our chiropractic mastermind, and listen to some of the techniques that I've given you from the system, because the videos that you see inside of this group are the same techniques, the same strategies that I give to the people that I coach. That's how transparent I am. I'm giving you the best stuff right here. So make a list of strategies. And if you don't, and get them from some of the old videos that you've seen inside this group, and take them from my system. They will certainly get you to where you want to go. And then decide, just decide. You're going to take massive action to be able to implement all of those new strategies, one strategy, every 21 days. And I promise you, as God is my witness, it'll change your practice. It'll change your life. You know, when we start to get these things moving and we get these things going in the right direction, you know what? The sky is absolutely the limit. There are three critical things that I've learned in my 32 years, that's a long time, of being a chiropractor and also being a coach to some of the best and most successful chiropractors in the business. And I put together my observations and these three things that I happened to learn the hard way into a 20-minute webinar, along with some help, with some step-by-step walkthroughs and some demonstrations and some PDFs that you can download. And if you want it, all you got to do is PM me, shoot me a message below. That's it for today, guys. I really appreciate you. God bless you. Take care.